Okay, good afternoon. Today's shir is Leil Nishmas Yaakov HaKohen ben Gedalia Cohen, Avram ben Yaakov HaKohen, Sidav ben Chaim Pesach, Leil Nishmatam. Today's shir is going to deal with the Haftorah and the Parshat and how it ties into what's happening today. If you look at the Haftorah, the end of Chayei, Melech David Zokein Ba Bayamim. King David was old, Ba Bayamim. That's the Haftorah for Parshat Chayei. What does Ba Bayamim mean? To come with your days. The same language is used in the Parshat. That's one reason why Chazal chose this Haftorah to be an addendum to Chayei, because the Parsha says, V'Avraham Zokein Ba Bayamim. And the Haftorah begins, V'Hamelech David, there are books here if you want, V'Hamelech David Zokein Ba Bayamim. What does it mean? Abraham was old, he came with his days, and David was old, page 1136 in the Stone Chumash, and David was old, he came with his days. What do you mean to come with your days? Well, what's the message? Despite being old, you have to keep on coming. No matter how old you are, you have to continue to come to the OU. Never retire. Yiddish Abraham? That's the message. Despite being old and stricken with years, David and Abraham, the same words, Ba Bayamim. They continue to keep on trucking. Remember that expression? Ba Bayamim. Keep on coming, keep on progressing, keep on coming to the OU and other Torah shurim. Never retire, despite your age. A Jew should never retire.
You shouldn't either.
Thank you. But this is the message. Now also, Ba Bayamim also means to come to Olam Haba with all of your days intact. What a compliment. David, it says the same thing by Sarah, it says the same thing by Abraham, it says the same thing by David. Ba Bayamim, they came to the afterlife with all of their days. That means not even one day was wasted. And what a compliment Tanakh is giving them. To achieve, to grow, never to retire. Every day of your life you accomplished. No matter how old you are, you can continue to grow, progress, and accomplish. To come to Olam Haba, Bayamim, with all of your days, not even one day was lost, not even one day was what? Wasted. So King David got old and clothes couldn't warm him. There was no electric blankets in those days. Clothes could not warm him. So his servants suggested that they find a beautiful girl, a Tula, a virgin, and she will what? And she will what? Lay in the bosom of King David and warm him up. That doesn't sound too kosher to me. I mean, King David is an Orthodox rabbi, right, Avram? So clothes couldn't keep him warm. There was no electric blankets in those days. All right, you can look in the Chumash. You want to look inside in the blue book there. What page? 1136. Yes. Thank you. So his servants suggested that they find a beautiful virgin young girl, and she will. The text says, "V'shafcha b'chekecha." And she will lay in your bosom, and she will warm up the king. Now, does that sound masha kosher to you?
But he was an old man already.
But why tell me about it? Tanakh is not a history book. Tanakh is God's GPS, God's personal system. What is the message over here? The answer is that King David was in danger of freezing to death. He was going to freeze to death, Elisheva. So therefore, the greatest mitzvah in the Torah is what? Staying alive, staying alive. So therefore, you have to do this. If your life is in danger and you're going to freeze to death, then it's proper even to have a young girl sit in your lap. If that's what it takes to save your life, if you can be Mechala Shabbat to save your life, if you can eat on Yom Kippur to save your life, then you can have a young virgin sit in your lap. Okay, but this has to be, the message is that this is Bekuach Nefesh. This is an inyan of Bekuach Nefesh. To save a life, you can transgress the whole Torah except 3 cardinal sins. And this is not one of them, and therefore this is the message of the Navi. Why tell me this story? Why tell me this story? Now, in the Parsha, it speaks about the first shidduch, the first Jewish shidduch between what? Yitzchak and Rivka, right? Now, it's interesting. If you look at the Bereshis Aleph, creation, the Torah makes short shrift, chick-chack. Very few verses describing creation of the universe. And here the Torah goes on and on and on, describing the shidduch of Yitzchak and Rivka. What do you think that is? Why is the Torah so economical when it comes to the creation story? And the story of the first Jewish family, the Torah spends many, many psukim. Madua v'lama, what's the message? To teach that creating a Jewish family is more precious to God than creating the world. The proof is in the pudding, right, Avi? Creating the world gets short shrift. But creating the first Jewish family, the Torah goes on and on.
The proof is in the verses.
Right? The proof is in the verses, not in the pudding. Right? Now, interesting. The beginning of the Parsha begins, these are the life of Sarah. It says years, years, years. Shnei Chayei Sarah. Genesis 23:1. The life of Sarah, years, years, years. And then the Torah says, these are the years of life of Sarah. Rashi makes a strange comment. Kulan shavin latova. How come it says years, years, years? All of her years were equally good. Is that true? All of her years were equally good? Let's get real, Shirley.
She got captured.
She got kidnapped by the king of the PLO. She got kidnapped by Pharaoh. How many years was she barren? And all the humiliation she took from Hagar and Yishmael. And how many nights did she cry herself to sleep? She couldn't have a child for 75 years. And how could Rashi say, Kulan shavin latova? Let's get real, Masha. Mama Sarah taught. The Talmud says, Kol man da'ovid rachmana latavovid. Whatever God does is for the good. It doesn't say it's good. It says is for the good. Sarah taught that. Looking back on a lifetime of hardship and suffering, she realized, remember that Menon commercial? Thanks, I needed that. I'm dating myself. That all suffering and all hardship in life is somehow l'tova. She realized she could never give birth to a Yitzchak unless she went through all of the trials and tribulations. What a message for us. Who doesn't suffer in life? Right? Everybody suffers. Everybody. That's the stairway to heaven, says the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon says suffering is the stairway to heaven. Right. The Vilna Gaon says we come down here to accomplish matai. Matai is Mem Taf Yud. What does matai stand for? It's an acronym. FBI, CIA, IRS. Mem. We come down to accomplish matai. Mem stands for mitzvot. Taf stands for Torah. And the Yud stands for Yisurim. Yisurim. Avram Yiddish, Avram Berkowitz. You can't get around that.
What was the
Yisurim.
What is that?
Suffering.
Suffering.
You can't get around it. We come down to accomplish one. Who taught that? Mama Sarah. Mama Sarah taught that all the hardship in life is only a preparation for what? For the payoff. And if not in this world, certainly in Olam Haba. Kulan shavin latova. Without all of the suffering hardship, she could never give birth to a Yitzchak. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Now, kulan shavin latova. If you look at the end of the Parsha, Genesis 25:7 says similar about Sarah, about Abraham. Same language. These were the days in the life of Abraham, years, 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 years. Here Rashi doesn't say Kulan shavin latova. By the years of Sarah, he says all of her years were equally good. The same language is when Abraham dies, it also says years, years, years. And here for some reason Rashi does not say Kulan shavin latova. Why? Madua. Genesis 2 says, Why did God create the woman? Lo toiv hayos adam levado. If the man is alone, he can't have any good. While he's alone, he can't have any good. Once Sarah died, he couldn't have any good anymore. So when Sarah was alive and she died, all the years were good. But when she died, Abraham was left alone, and therefore it doesn't say that all of his years were good. Without Sarah, he was lost. And therefore it says in the beginning, Genesis 23:1, Abraham came to eulogize Sarah and to cry for her. There's a small kaf in the word lifkota. Did Moses run out of ink? Vilifkota. There's a tiny kaf there. Abraham came to eulogize and to cry for Sarah. Why did God tell Moses to write the word to cry for her with a small kaf? Why?
Not too long.
So one explanation is he didn't cry too much for her. Don't cry for me, because she's going to a better place.
Yeah, but you can't try, I think, more than 30 days.
Right. He didn't cry too much because she's in a better place now, right? But a deeper explanation, lefkota, how do you say palm in Hebrew? A kaf. A kaf is a palm. A kaf also means a spoon. Because doesn't my palm look like a spoon? Yeah. In Hebrew, a kaf means an extending hand. A spoon, does my hand look like? When Sarah died, Abraham's capacity to extend his kaf shrunk and diminished. He was lost without her. So the kaf, which means the kaf, which means a hand, a palm in Hebrew, was greatly diminished when Sarah died, and therefore the kaf is written what, which means a hand, is written very tiny in the Parshat. So here, it's interesting that the whole story with Eliezer, Rashi makes an amazing comment that many major laws of the Torah are only beremizah. How do you say remizah? A hint, a wink, an extra letter. But the story of Eliezer finding a wife for Yitzchak is repeated not once but twice. Why do we need to know the repetition, how he found a wife and what he said to the family? What is the message? What is the message that the Torah is conveying over here in writing all of these extra verses describing the shidduch between what? Abraham, Yitzchak and Rivka. Rashi makes a strange comment quoting Chazal. The mundane table talk of the servant of Abraham is more beautiful and precious to God than our Torah. Should I repeat that? It is more precious and beautiful. The mundane table talk of Eliezer is more precious to God than our Torah. Because many parshas in the Torah, many laws of the Torah, Chanoch, are only hinted at. Extra letter, missing letter. Here, the mundane table talk of Eliezer, the servant of Abraham, the way he talks is repeated twice. So you see, that's more precious in the Torah. But I thought that there's nothing more precious in the Torah.
That's what I thought.
That's a good thing you came today. What could be more precious than the Torah? Eliezer's mundane table talk is more precious than the Torah? Yes. The question is why. The Medrash Vayikra Rabbah says, Derech Eretz Kodma LaTorah. Torah is very important. But there's something that comes before the Torah. Menschlichkeit, compassion, midat tovot, humility, kindness, that comes before the Torah. Somehow from Eliezer's mundane table talk, we see his tremendous derech eretz, his tremendous humility, compassion and goodness, and that's more precious than what? Than the Torah. So where do we see it? Where do we see it? The Torah says, you know who Eliezer was? You can imagine his CV. Zikan Beto. He was the Rosh Koil of Avraham Avinu's yeshiva. Zikan Beto. Abraham had a huge academy. where he taught keep the 7, go to heaven. Who was in charge? The Rosh Yeshiva, who was it? Eliezer, Zekan Beito. And besides that, Hamoshel B'chol Ashelo. He was the CEO and the CFO of Abraham Incorporated, which was bigger than U.S. Steel. The Torah tells us Abraham had a vast fortune, real estate holdings, stocks, bonds, gemalim, shvachim, shvachot, avodim, gold and silver. Who was in charge of that? Eliezer. So this guy Eliezer was in charge not of only of Abraham's spiritual treasures, Zekan Beito, but also Amoshel B'chol Ashelo, the CEO and CFO of Abraham Incorporated, bigger than General Motors. So can you imagine this guy's, Avi, can you imagine this guy, how do you say CV in English? His CV, his resume. Yet, how does he introduce himself to Rivka's family? He should say, you know who I am? Rabbi, Doctor, DHL, PhD, CEO, CFO of Avraham Avinu. He says, Evet Avraham Anochi. Can you imagine that? Evet Avraham Anochi. Forget about the CFO, CEO, Rabbi, Doctor, PhD. Evet Avraham Anochi. I am a servant of Abraham. What humility, what menschlichkeit, that comes before the Torah. That story is worth repeating, Reb Nachum, twice. Evet Avraham Anochi. That's all I am. Isn't that an incredible idea?
Yeah.
What? Go ahead.
Did Eliezer have a role in Avram's relationship with Hagar after Sarah died?
No, Rashi said that after Sarah died, he sent Yitzchak to fetch Hagar back for him. Yitzchak went, Rashi tells us that Yitzchak went to bring back Hagar to Abraham because he saw that his father was lonely. It was Yitzchak who brought her back, brought Hagar back, okay? But anyway, this is in tremendous midot, the humility of Eliezer, that he never even identifies himself. Throughout, he's called Evet Avraham Anochi. All I am is what? Abraham's servant. Wow, that's a pretty amazing message. Now, the humility, incredible midot tovot that this person has. Now, the Torah says, when Rivka saw Yitzchak, Vatikach Chayei Fatiskas, Genesis 24:65, when she saw her chatan, she covered her face with a veil. Why do I need to know 30 years ago that when she saw her chatan, she covered her face with a veil? Why should I care? The Torah is not history. Torah is GPS. And that's why all brides cover their face with a veil, because the first Jewish bride did that. But why is that important? She took the veil and covered her face. What is the message that she's conveying to her chatan and to us?
Modesty. Modesty.
What modesty? Cover your face?
Yeah.
You don't have to walk around with a face covered.
Maybe.
That's not Judaism. That's Talibanism. Why did she cover her face in front of her chatan? What is she saying? I am much more than a pretty face. Don't love me just for my face. Just like the veil is not me. The veil is only what? A covering. My pretty face is not me. It's only a covering. I'm a godly soul. That's what Mama Rivka was teaching. And that's what all Jewish brides tell their chasanim. Don't love me for my veil. The veil is not me, it's a covering. The face is not really me. I'm a soul person. Just like the veil covers the face itself is only a cover for what? For who I am. Who am I? A godly soul. That's what Rivka was teaching. That's what she was teaching. In English, what's a synonym for the word skin? Hide. I'll tan your hide. Shirley, isn't that bizarre? You look in the Webster dictionary, the synonym for skin, Masha, is hide. What has hide got to do with skin? I'll tan your hide. Are you sitting down for this?
Yeah.
Skin is called hide because skin hides who I really am. Who am I? I'm a godly soul. The skin hides who I am. You don't know that, right? That's why the skin is called hide. I'm a tzelem Elokim. I've got you under my skin. Isn't that incredible? There's no other reason why skin should be called hide. Skin hides who I am. Who am I? A godly soul. The body, the skin, is only what? The covering. Just like the veil is only the covering of what? Of the face. Right? That's what Rivka was teaching. Then the Torah says something strange. Genesis 24, Yitzchak brought her into his mother's tent. He married Rivka, she became his wife, and then he loved her. You see that, Elishama? Genesis 24, 67, right?
Yes.
So remember that song? Love and marriage, love and marriage. You got to change the lyrics. Because the Torah says, marriage and love, marriage. It says he only loved her, only after he what? He married her. But I got a problem with the verse, Elishama. Can you read me the verse in English? Genesis 24, 67.
And Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah, his mother. He married Rebekah. She became his wife, and he loved her.
Please stop there. If you marry a woman, isn't she your wife?
Mm-hmm.
So what sounds redundant to me, he married Rivka, she became his wife. Isn't that redundant? And there are no extra words in the Torah. From here, the Talmud learns that a Jewish marriage, Elisheva, consists of two stages. Vayikach at Rivka, he married Rivka, that's Kiddushin. Vatilo leisha, that's Nesuin. This is the source. There's two stages in every Jewish marriage. There is the Kiddushin, and then there is what? The Nesuin. And therefore, in the middle of a Jewish wedding, under the chuppah, the rabbi reads the ksubah. Nobody knows what he's saying anyway. It's all in Aramaic to me, Connie. Why is he reading? Why is he reading ksubah? Who's listening? The caterer is ready. The photographer is ready. Why do you waste 20 minutes reading the ksubah when nobody knows what he's saying anyway, Abraham?
Separated for 20 minutes.
You should eat instead for 20 minutes.
The answer is to make a clear demarcation between what? Kiddushin and Nesuin.
So
Not to waste time. The caterer is ready already. Before, 1 second, that's the Kiddushin. After the Ksubah is read, that's the Nesuin. So to point out clearly that what? That the two stages in the Jewish marriage, that's why the rabbi reads the Ksubah, and it's based on this pasuk. He married her, but there's a second stage, Kiddushin, and then there's Nesuin. And then he says, and then he loved her. So Shimshon Full Hirsch points out that as important as love is before marriage, it's much more important what? After marriage. Because you really don't know a person until what? You live with them, right?
So why can't you read it in English rather than Aramaic?
Oh, well, the rabbis made it in Aramaic because that was the vernacular of the time.
So they did.
But the rabbi said, read it in the because that was the English of the time. Okay?
So
But there's nothing wrong in reading it in any language that the Chas and Kala understand. Right? But we don't want to rock the boat, right? But there's nothing wrong with reading it in English.
Maybe when she reads it, she was going to change her mind.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, she might change her mind.
Yeah.
That's how you do it in Aramaic. Fool her.
Right. Now, Rashi makes an amazing comment. He brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and she became like his mother Sarah. You always want to marry. I want to marry a girl like dear old mom. Heard that song? Right? Rashi says something amazing. She became like his mother. Rashi says, as long as his mother Sarah was alive, the Ner Doluk, the Friday night candle that she lit, remained lit all week. And the dough and the bread that she baked remained fresh and hot all week, even without a toaster oven. And the Shekhinah, the cloud of God's presence, hovered over her tent. And when she died, all the miracles went away, even though Abraham was still alive. Looks like she's greater. The miracles were because of her. When she died, the miracles ceased, even though Abraham was still alive. And when Rivka came back into the tent, all the miracles came back. The Friday night candle remained lit all week. The bread, the dough, remained hot and fresh all week. And the Shekhinah returned on the cloud. Abraham wasn't good enough. The women have it over us. Women have a bina yetena. The Ramban points out something incredible. If you look in the Mishkan, in the desert, these three miracles that were present in Sarah's tent were also present where? In the Mishkan. The lechem aponim, the showbread, remained hot and fresh all week, despite a toaster oven, no toaster oven. The ner maravi, the menorah, remained lit all week, that the Kohen lit, and the magic clouds hovered over the Mishkan. The Ramban points out that the Mishkan was a replica of Sarah's tent, not Abraham's tent. Nachmanides points out that God commanded us to build a tabernacle in the Midbar. He wanted a replica, not of Abraham's tent, Sarah's tent, because these miracles were not for Abraham's sake, only for Sarah's sake. Sarah died, they disappeared. When Rivka came back into the tent, the miracles came back. So the candle remained lit in the menorah, the Ner Maravi. The lechem aponim remained fresh all week, and the magic clouds of Hashem's presence, and all those miracles in the Mishkan, says Nachmanides, was only a replica. So the Mishkan was a replica of whose tent?
Sarah.
Not Abraham, Sarah's tent.
And the fourth one was her doors were always open.
But that's not a miracle.
Hospitality.
That's not a miracle. We're talking about supernatural events.
All right.
Supernatural events, right? But he says the Mishkan was oil shel Sarah, not Abraham. That's how great the Jewish women are. Incredible. So, it's interesting. Why is tzniut so important in Yahadut? Tzniut. Why is that? Modesty. Why is that so important in Yahadut? You ever wonder? Why should it matter how a person dresses? Why is that such an ikar of Yahadut? To be a tzanua, to dress modestly.
They're more appealing.
Why?
More appealing.
Close, Shelley, close. To answer your question, I'll ask another. How come Elsie the cow does not wear a dress? Remember Elsie the cow? She does? Remember Elmer the bull? How come animals don't wear any clothes? You ever wonder about that?
I don't know that.
Because an animal, what you see is what you get.
Oh.
There's nothing behind the skin. But clothing is so important to a human being. Because clothing reminds a person, just like the clothes is not me, it's only a covering. My body is not really me, it's only a covering for my godly soul. If a person walks around half naked, what is he advertising? What you see is what you get. There's nothing behind the skin. He doesn't realize, but that's what he's saying. So therefore, to dress modestly is so important. It reminds people, just like the clothes is not me, it's only a covering, the body is not me. It's a covering for the godly soul. The body wears out, the clothing wear out, but the godly soul remains eternally beautiful. That's the message of why Judaism puts so much emphasis on what? On dressing properly. It's to remind us who we are. Powerful message. People don't know that. But that's what the Torah is teaching over here with the fact that that Rivka, she veiled herself when she first saw her her Chatan. Nachon? Now, the whole Parsha here of Avraham's interacting, the way he speaks to the Canaanites with such respect, even though they're pagans, and he's miles above them spiritually, he relates to them as what? As an equal. He doesn't talk down to them. He talks to them as if he would be what? On their level. That's the derech eretz that the Torah teaches. That even though you're spiritually above a person, you don't talk down to anybody. You give every person the proper respect that that they deserve. Because every human being has a tzelem elikim. That's the powerful message that the Torah is teaching over here. To give every person the proper respect that he deserves. Now, Rashi makes a comment, interesting comment. Abraham commands his servant, and he says, Hashem, the God of heaven, will help you find a shidduch for my wife Yitzchak. For my son Yitzchak, slicha. So Rashi wonders, why does he say that he's the God of heaven? Isn't he also the God of the earth? God is the God of the earth too. Why does he tell Eliezer in Genesis 24:7, Hashem, the God of heaven, he will help you find a wife for Yitzchak. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is also the God of the earth. So Rashi makes a strange comment. Rashi says, you know why he doesn't say the God of the earth? He says, yeah, now he's the God of the earth too, thanks to me. But before I went on my campaign to be God's PR man, the first Chabadnik, the first kir of work, he was only the God of heaven. Because nobody knew him. Thanks to me, says Abraham, now he's also the God of the earth as well. But before I came on the scene, he was only the God of the earth. Nobody knew him until the God, I'm testing you, the God of heaven, thank you. Before I opened up my first Chabad house, he wasn't the God of the earth. Who cared about him? It's thanks to me that Abraham says, thanks to me, he's also now the God of the earth as well. This is the person that says, I'm dust and ashes. What's he patting himself on the back? Hey, a knip and bekel, how do you say? Check it out. Hey God, without me, you are not around. You are only the God of the heaven. Now, thanks to me, I made you also the God of the earth. That sounds like a dirtbag. Avram says, I'm a dirtbag. I'm confused over here. Abraham, the epitome of humility, why is he bragging to Eliezer? And why tell me about it 3,800 years ago? What's the message? What's the message that Avram is teaching us? The Mishnah says, Bishvili nivra olam. Mishnah Sanhedrin says the whole universe was created only for me. Not for Moses, not for all of the Nevi'im, the Tzaddikim. The universe was created only for me. Mishnah Sanhedrin, page 37. Yet on the other hand, we're supposed to think, well, what? Ofra ve'efer. What does ofra ve'efer mean? Dirtbag. That expression. Abraham called himself a dirtbag. Well, if I'm a dirtbag, then what am I patting myself on the back and saying, God, thanks to me, now you're also the God of the earth? I'm confused. How should a person feel about himself? As he's a zero, or he is what? The whole universe was created only for me. I'm confused. What was Abraham's great discovery? I matter. I make a difference. Noah couldn't relate to that. Noah thought he's a zero. I'm a nobody. I can pray for the generation. Why should God listen to me? I'm a nothing. Avram's great discovery is that I do matter. I can change the world. It's up to me. But how does that jive with being what? Off of Afer. So the Kotzker Rebbe said, why did God create the human being with two hands? In one hand, you're supposed to say, Bishvili Nivra Olam. In one hand, you have to have the Mishnah in Sanhedrin. The whole universe was created only for me, and without me, God cannot get the job done. In the other hand, Anochi Ofav Efer, I'm a dirtbag. You're supposed to carry these two ideas, two hands. You got the whole world in your hand, and the trick in life is to know when to open up which hand. If I'm a dirtbag, if I'm a zero, then why do anything? Why get out of bed in the morning? I'm a nothing. I'm a dirtbag. Why do any mitzvot? Doesn't matter what I do. All we are is dust in the wind. Then which hand you're supposed to open up? B'shvili nivra olam. It's up to me. God needs me, and only I can do it my way. Da 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 da. Then you're supposed to open up that hand. But when you get a real swelled head and you think that what? You become arrogant, then you're supposed to open up the other hand. The trick in life is what, Shirley? To balance, to know when to open up which hand. That's the trick in life, says the Holy Kotzker Rebbe. The whole universe is only for me. Only I matter. And yet, I'm a zero. Depends. What? So all of life, Elisheva, is a balancing act. You can't lean over too far on one side. If I'm a big zero, then who cares? I can do anything. I'll become a beach bum. Then you open up which hand? It's all up to me. No one can do it my way. But when you become arrogant and stuck up, and you want to talk down to people, then you open up the other hand, Avi. Don't you see why the human being was created with what? Two hands and not one. That's the beautiful word of the Kotzker Rebbe. How important a human being is. How what? How I matter to God. How God needs me. Just like my fingerprints are unique, my mission in life is unique. And if I don't do it, nobody can do it. The proof is, my fingerprints are not yours. Now, it's just incredible. The Torah goes out of her way to describe how beautiful the mothers of Israel were. Look at Genesis 24:16. It says that she was a beautiful girl. Very beautiful. Rivka was a number 10. Remember the movie 10? On a scale of 1 to 10. And it says it about Sarah, says it about Rachel. Why does the Torah have to describe the physical beauty of the matriarchs? Don't we sing every Friday night, Sheker Achein, Behevel Ayofi? That physical beauty is what? Vain. Vain, and what does sheker mean? Falsehood. So if it's vain and falsehood, King Solomon says in Mishlei, so why does the Torah describe the physical beauty of all the mothers, that they were all Miss Universe? If it's all what? Vain, false, and deceiving. So what are we singing every Friday night? So Vilna Gaon says, look at the end of the verse. Isha yirat Hashem yitesalal. Beauty is vain and false. A God-fearing woman, she shall be praised. Says the Vilna Gaon, if all a woman has is physical beauty, there's nothing behind, then of course it's false. Because physical beauty wears out. It doesn't. Even Elizabeth Taylor, when she turned old, Physical beauty, if there's nothing behind the physical beauty, of course it's false and vain because it doesn't last. But a God-fearing woman is praised for what? For what? Her physical beauty as well. So every Friday night we're singing, we don't know what we're saying, the Vilna. If physical beauty, there's nothing behind it, it's vain and false because it's temporary. But a woman who's physically beautiful and God-fearing, then she's praised for what? For what? Physical beauty as well. Since the mothers of Israel were God-fearing women, therefore the Torah what? Saw it fit to what? To praise them for what? Their physical beauty as well.
Pretty is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my mother always said.
So what's the message? Says the Radak, why is it important to point out that the mothers of Israel were all knockouts? All very, very pretty. Why is that important? Says the Radak, something incredible. The first mitzvah in the Torah is to have children. Pruvu, the first mitzvah in the Torah. He says a pretty wife will encourage the husband to have babies. So therefore it's important, if you can, to marry a pretty woman. Remember that song, Pretty Woman? Because this way you'll do more pruvu. You'll be encouraged to what? To have more children. And every child you bring into the world brings the Mashiach one step closer. Do you know that? The Talmud tells us that every Jewish neshama that comes down brings the Mashiach one step closer. So if you marry a beautiful woman and encourage you to have more children, you're bringing the Messiah child by child. Child by child, right? There's X amount of neshamas that have to come down before what? Mashiach can come. Okay? So therefore, getting married and having children is what? The first mitzvah in the Torah. The first mitzvah in the Torah. Pretty interesting, right? Now, Eliezer saw the midot of Rivka. It wasn't just the fact that she did chesed. It's what? Vataratz. She kept running. Her enthusiasm. This girl belongs in Abraham's house. Not just the fact that she does chesed. I'm so excited. The Torah, the same words the Torah used about Abraham's chesed. He ran here, he ran there to feed the guests. The same language the Torah uses by what? By Rivka. It's not just the chesed. It's how she did it. With enthusiasm and passion. That's how he knew that this girl belongs where? In Avram Avinu's house. Isn't that amazing? But he was such a great judge of character. This slave, this Canaanite slave, Abraham trusted him, not just with his physical fortune, but his spiritual fortune and the future of the Jewish people. This was a Canaanite. Look how the Torah is not prejudiced. He comes from the cursed nation of Canaan, and he became Abraham's right-hand man, where Abraham didn't make a move without him, trusting him with his spiritual and physical fortune and the future of the Jewish people. Look how the Torah does not discriminate. Doesn't matter who you come from. It's what you do with your life that matters. Say, born on the wrong side of the tracks, right? The devil made me do it. It's up to you. It's no yichus. How do you say yichus? Pedigree? Masha, doesn't matter. Pedigree. Look at the Mashiach's pedigree. Who does Mashiach come from? Moab. Mashiach, King David. Who was his great-grandma? Ruth. Who was Ruth? A former go-go dancer from Moab. Moab is the symbol of immorality. Moab is the symbol of immorality. And yet she's the grandmother of the Messiah. Powerful message. Doesn't matter who you were, it's what you do now that matters. It's never too late to turn your life around. You could have been a go-go dancer in Moab. Right?
Right.
But that doesn't stop you from turning your life around and becoming the great Ruth, the grandmother of the Messiah. Couldn't God find a Beis Yaakov girl to be the grandmother of the Messiah? Moab made Las Vegas look like a kindergarten. Moab. What a powerful message. Doesn't matter who you come from, how you were raised, you can turn your life around. Don't blame society, your parents. God gave you a brain, intellect. How did Abraham find God? He was raised as a pagan, wasn't he? He used his intellect to search, to ask questions. Other religions say, my way or the highway. Other religions, you're not allowed to question. They throw you out. Or worse, Judaism is the only religion that what? Encourages questions. Encourages questions. Because when you have the truth, you have nothing to hide. When you have the truth, you have nothing to hide. So we encourage questions, encourage debates. It's amazing that Abraham had many theological debates, according to the Rambam, with the theologians of the time, debating, but that's not in the Torah. His theological debates are not in the Torah. What is in the Torah? His acts of chesed, over and over again. Because Judaism, of course, about theology, but the most important part of Judaism is what? Action. Action. Beliefs are important. What's more important than beliefs? Your action. Other religions, I gotta believe, right? Believe, and that's it. Judaism says belief is important, but much more important is what kind of mensch you are, how you relate to strangers, how you act to people, compassion for the other person. That's in the Torah, not his theological debates, but his acts of chesed, because that's important. Judaism is more about deed than creed. There's deed and there's creed. What's more important, Avi? Deed, not creed, because Abraham's creed, the theological debates are not in the Torah. What is in the Torah? His deeds, his acts of chesed, repeated over and over again. Sunday at 2 o'clock, we have a shiur on Rivka and Yitzchak. Do we believe in love at first sight? That Sunday at 2, Yitzchak and Rivka, love at first sight, she literally fell for him. Didn't she fall for him? So what does Judaism say about love at first sight? That Sunday at 2? Thank you, Shabbat Shalom.